All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me on our Saturday live at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So today I'm gonna talk about a little bit about how you're able to write a very uh, good offer where you are more likely to get your offer accepted by a listing agent. So this is pretty much mostly for agents out there who is currently, losing a lot of deals and wondering what can they do or what can, their client do, or however getting a little edge on the, multiple offer uh, issues that we're having right now. So basically, that's what I'm going to go through today is basically just giving you some pointers of all the years I've been learning in the real estate world that, how you're able to write a, convincing and attractive offer that win most of the time. So let's get into it. We're going to go through five things. So there's a pre-approved letter, pre-qualified letters, approval letters, healthy EMD, cash is better, inspection period, contingency, and close quickly. So these are the five things that we will go through in a little bit. Excuse me. One second here. And I'm going to go through the difference in every single one of them, okay? So and then one more thing, I just want to let everybody know that there is no live calls today. Today is just pretty much for agents out there who, writing offers, who wants to get a little bit better, have an edge as far as, what they need to do to get their offer accepted since they've been losing a lot of deals lately with multiple offers. So that's what we're going to go do. Okay. So we're going to start with pre-approved, qualify, or pre-approved, pre-qualified, and or approval. And what are the difference between these three? And we have to really understand as an agent what these three stands, what these three word means, and how you're able to use these word with your offer to get a upper hand, so that way you can get your offer accepted more easily or better than others. So pre-approved letters, I'm going to go through some of the key features of, when an agent say, hey, Mike, can you give me a pre-approved letter, or can you give me a pre-qualified letter, or can you give me an approval letter? That's what I'm going to go through and what those means for each and every single one of them. So pre-approved letter is basically when a broker or lender has seen all the required documents. So the required documents, you already know. We did a YouTube video of documentation. So I'm gonna just give you a summary of those. Is like your two most recent bank statements, all pages. Your two most recent tax returns. Your two most recent W-2s. Your two most recent paycheck stubs. So those, and then of course your picture IDs, et cetera, et cetera. So, but those are the major items that you will need. So basically, pre-approved letter is basically saying that the client already submitted to the broker of choice and or lender that, these are the documents that they requested. The broker and or lender have validate the numbers as well. Okay, I did something here. So they validate the numbers, and they look at all the documents, making sure that the bank statement is true, the tax return is good and signed, the paycheck stub is correct with the numbers that they're getting paid or using the income. These are things that the broker and or lender has validate those documents. Okay. The broker lender have run the client's credit report or credits. Okay, so this is another key features that they want to make sure that we want to know what the client's credit score is, if there's are any judgment or liens or collection or bankruptcies or short sale or foreclosures. These are all the stuff that can show up on your client credit report. So basically, the broker and or lender have run the client's credit. So those are the top three items. Once those things happen and the broker or lender feels that the client, qualify, they will issue a pre-approved letter. So now what is a pre-qualified letter? Okay. So a pre-qualified letter is basically a broker or lender have seen the client's document, not all, but majority of the document, just like, the first one, the pre-approved letter. The broker lender have not validate or does not know how to validate the client's document. So the pre-qualify, even though the word qualify, basically the broker and or lender sometimes doesn't, or the person who handling the client's case doesn't know how to calculate income correctly. So that's why, they kind of just say, okay, well, we pre-qualify you based on certain things only, and I'm going to show you what those are right now. So those are the two items that, the first and the third. So the broker have seen the client's document, not all of them, but majority of the documents. The broker lender have run the client's credit, so they know, that's pretty easy, right? Use a credit card and then they put it through the credit agency and pull their credit. And then, of course, the second item on there, which is validating the document, which is very difficult to do because majority of loan officers and or processors or however you want to call them, they don't know how to validate or calculate the client's income correctly, and therefore it's a disservice to the client because they might qualify or they might not qualify. So when you give a pre-qualified letter, on the letter there's a lot of stipulations that they have not checked this and this. So that's why when you ask for a pre-qualified letter, if I'm the listing agent, I would never ask for a pre-qualified letter. I will always ask for one of the two, either pre-approved letter and or approval. And then if I get a pre-approved letter, what I would do is contact the mortgage loan officer, the MLO, and talk to him or her in regards to the client's situation. And when I talk to an MLO, I will ask certain questions, and I will know for a fact that if the MLO knows what he or she is doing, because if I ask, have you calculated the income, or have you, know what the debt to income ratio is? And if they don't know and they can't answer those questions to me, then right off the bat, I already know that the pre-approved letter that they got is not valid. Okay. So this is where we goes to the third option. And if you guys have questions, you guys can always feel free to go in the chat box and type me a message, because since we're not doing live phone calls today because I'm off location today, please use the chat box so that way I can answer the questions live here. Okay. Okay, we go back to pre-approved letter. So this is important. Pre-approved letter. This is the best of the three options. Okay, so I will always, as a listing agent, ask for a pre-approval letter, not a pre-qualify or or pre-approved. I will always ask for a approval letter. Okay, and why that's the case. Okay. Okay, so the client's file has been submitted to a lender and or investors for review and have a commitment to lend. So what does that mean? That means the client already submitted all the documents that's required by the mortgage loan officer if you're using a broker, or the lender if you're using a retail side, like the branch or whatever. You walk into Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Chase or Citi, they ask for a list of documents, you submit those documents to them, and what they do is they have a quote unquote call a underwriter to look at your documents. Okay. So the lender investor is waiting for the subject property address to order an appraisal if applicable. So what does that mean? Basically, of course, on a pre-approval letter, the client doesn't pick out the property yet. So they're not going to know the property address, right? So because we don't know the property address, it is very difficult for us as a lender or slash investor to say, okay, we're okay with the value, we're okay with this and that. So we don't really know if the subject property is a single family home, if it's a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex, it's a condo, if it's a PUD, a planned unit development. So these are all type of properties that we as lender or investor doesn't know what type of property your client's going to buy. So with that said, we cannot pinpoint what the value will be, but what we can do is based on your request or your client's request, say, okay, can we get a pre-approval or an approval letter based on, let's just say, I don't know, $1 million, and I want to put down 20% down. So with that, we can say, okay, you are approved with to buy a home for up to $1 million with 20% down. So when you have a approval letter, basically you're telling the listing agent that, look, listen, my client has gone through the process. Right now, all they're waiting for is for you to accept my offer, so that way we can order an appraisal. That's it. That's basically you're saying to the listing agent, right? There's no, oh, we have to submit this document, we have to wait for that document. Of course, there's preliminary title report that we have not, look at and or validate because, again, we have not, find the property that we're gonna buy yet or the client's buying yet. So therefore, we don't have the preliminary title report and or the subject property address. So those are the two items that we don't have on a pre-approval or / approval letter in that sense when you do a pre-approval. The lender investor have audited the client's documentation, so income. So we did a 4506T. This is back in the days. I think they switched that now. I think they're using a 4506. I forgot what's the last digit, last letter. But basically, we're pulling a summary of your tax returns for 2 years or the previous 2 years, depending on if we're using desktop underwriting or loan prospector to run your client's scenario. Second thing is we validate your client's bank statements. So we look at your bank statements, making sure that all the large deposit has been answered or sourced, and also that they have enough money to buy the property. Okay. We also validate their credit. So we ran their credit, look at the credit histories, and if there is any credit blemishes, we make sure that we address those. We look at their tax returns. They have to sign both of their most recent year tax returns. So today is 2021, March. So we would look at 2020 tax return. Of course, some people have not filed their 2020 tax return. So what we would need is 2019 tax return signed and 2018 tax return signed. And a lot of people say, well, like we do taxes electronically now, which is fine with the IRS. But for the investors / lenders, we always ask for the client to sign their tax return, even though on their tax return, most likely on page 2, they'll say, I guess they'll put a number there, basically your ID that you have filed electronically. But next to it, all you have to do is sign it, and you're good to go. We validate the investment property, if it's an investment property, and or leases if you have more than one property. So we validate all the documents to making sure that it is in line, so that way we can bulk the loan up and sell it to Fannie and Freddie. So let me check, see if anybody have any message. No, okay, perfect. All right. We send out disclosures and initial LEs to the client, acknowledge and e-sign once we have the subject property address. So we're gonna go ahead the question is, what is a healthy EMD? So EMD stands for earnest money deposit. So every time you write up an offer, you tell the client tell the listing agent that my client want to put X amount of money towards the deposit to buy your property, and we are serious. So we're gonna go through what is a healthy EMD. Most people say, well, 3% of the offer purchase price is healthy. Some people say 5%. Some people say 10%. So do I have another one? Nope. Okay. So that's the next one. We're gonna stick with this one. So what is a healthy EMD? Okay. So most people will take a 3% EMD. So 3% of the purchase price pretty much is the same as your, on your purchase contract, you have, we call it your clause in regards to, not fulfilling your side of the contract, and then you would lose the deposit. And normally it is 3% of the offered purchase price. So most people, most agent will put down a 3% EMD right away. So on a $1 million home, they're gonna write a $30,000 check earnest money deposit once the offer is accepted. So, so the question here is, what is a healthy EMD, right? So let's just say it all depends. The answer is depending on how much your client is willing to put down to buy this property. So if the client's putting 20% down, is 3% a good healthy EMD, 5% or 10%? So I'm going to give you my personal experience, right? My personal experience is very simple. Depending on my client, of course, you always want to check with your client before you write an offer to make sure that they're comfortable and making sure they have enough money in the bank to cover the check. That's, of course, that's the most important thing, because it's going to be a nightmare if you write a check and the client doesn't have enough money in the bank. So, so my rule of thumb is I never go with the norm. So the norm is 3% EMD, right? So if my client say, "Hey, Michael, I want to put down, I'm going to use this another number here. Let's say I want to put down 30% of the down payment. So if I buy $1 million house, I want to put down 300,000. Okay, so on 300,000, I'm going to ask them, okay, well, are you comfortable to put 1/3, okay, 1/3 of that 300,000? So we're talking about $90,000 or 100,000, $100,000 as an EMD. Remember this, guys. No matter how you look at it, they're gonna bring in that 300,000 for a down payment anyways, right? So what is a healthy EMD? So if they're gonna put down 30%, which is 300,000 on $1 million, I will ask them for $100,000 EMD. Okay. No one has done this. I have not seen anybody come across this and say, "Hey, Michael, my client want to do $100,000 EMD." Okay, because think about this. Let's flip this side as you as the listing agent. Okay, you're on the listing agent. You're helping your seller sell the house, and then you got an offer from me, right? $1 million, just like everybody else. But I'm gonna put an EMD right away, $100,000, just like that, whereas everybody else is doing $30,000. So who do you think is more serious about buying this property? Me, my client putting $100,000 EMD, or you guys putting a $30,000 EMD? Now, of course, this is just EMD, right? Of course, there's other stipulation as far as the offer is concerned, like contingencies and how many days you're going to close. We're just talking strictly about EMD. Okay, so if I were you, try to do a third of what the client's planning to put down to buy the property. And that will beat majority of agents out there. So this is something that, when I do a training, I train this a lot. I tell people as agents, this is what you do. And then the client say, "Oh my God, that's a lot of money." I'm like, "Look, do you like the house? Are you going to put down 300,000 anyways?" So yeah, but what if we don't get the house? Well, if you don't get the house, the money never leaves your bank. So it doesn't matter. So if you get the house, well, but if I get the house, I should put $100,000 right away. I said, well, yeah. What are you gonna do with $100,000 anyway? Well, during the 30 days, I can make a lot of money, right? I say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, think about this. Yes, it's true you can make a lot of money, but on the flip side, you can also lose a lot of money, right? So again, clients of mine who buy properties, their money is already sitting in the bank, just waiting to find that property. They're not investing that money. They're not, pulling money from somewhere now. Or a stock account. Then they'll roll it, right? They'll roll it, and then they'll wait until almost at the last minute. Now, again, you can make the argument that, oh, I'll try to make as much money in the stock market as possible up until I close escrow, which is true. But at the same time, you're rolling the dice. That means the stock market can go down. from now till the time you close escrow. So what do you do then when that happens, right? So majority of people who buy a property like this, I talk to them, I know their financial situation, I know how healthy their finances are. So because of that, I'm able to get them, put down 1/3 of what their down payment will be as an EMD. So you as a listing agent, when you see my offer coming through, just EMD alone, it blows majority of people out of the water. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, inspection. Okay, let me go back here to see if anybody have any question. Perfect, nobody. Okay. Inspection period shortened. So of course, on a purchase agreement, you have inspections, right? The client need to do some inspection. I always tell the client, do your due diligence, right? If you feel like you need a home inspection, a termite inspection, a roof inspection, do them all, right? It's very relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $600 or something like that. I mean, you're buying $1 million home, guys. So, $600 is chump change compared to $1 million that you're buying a property for. So, get a peace of mind, understand the property that you're getting yourself into. Not only that, read it, see what you like, what you don't like, and then talk to your agent, right? The client's going to talk to you, or you, when you see the report, you can kind of talk to your client, say, okay, well, these are the things that maybe it's not that bad, or, whatever it might be. So at least both of you are on the same page. So that way, going into writing the offer, you can shorten the period of inspection. Okay. So in the contract, say 17 days, right? So, is 14 days good? Is 10 days good, or 7 days, right? So it all depends on your client. It depends on you as an agent, how fast you can get somebody out there inspect the house, right? So for us, we have very good relation with home inspectors, so they can do all three within a few days. So it doesn't mean you get the report in a few days, but within a few days, they'll get the home inspection done, the termite inspection done, and the roof inspection done in a few days, and then the report will be, a few days after that. So I would like to say, 7 days, is good, because, we can say, hey, look, I need my inspection report done in 5 days. The inspection company will get you the report in 5 days, all three reports, and then you have 2 days to kind of, do your thing. I mean, you can read it, you can, ask questions, and consult the expert in those areas where you have concerns about the inspections. Okay. Okay, contingency wave. So this is what's going on a lot. Okay. Until today is March 13, 2021. A lot of agents come to me, hey, Michael, the market right now is crazy. In Northern California, every offer that you come in, you have to have no contingency. Okay. So I'm like, no, that's not true. But okay, whatever, whoever told you, whoever tell you to do that, that's up to them. But I'm telling you is that in order for you to do contingency wave or wave contingency, what you need to do is make sure you understand the ramification, and also you make sure you understand, I mean, you explain this clearly in plain English to your client what those are, because it is, there's no worse way of getting your offer accepted, and then you got a lawsuit from your client, right? And you will lose that client forever. Okay. Not only your broker is going to get into it, you will get into it. It's just going to be a headache. Trust me when I tell you, we, as me as a broker myself, agent that does this, I want to make sure that they understand. And actually, when I had my own office, I think one of the agent did this, and I pull them in. I pull that agent, that a particular agent, into my office, and I ask him, okay, you know what? Can you answer me? Can you explain to me what what contingency waiver means? Number one. Number two, what are the ramifications if we put that in there? And 9 out of 10, the agent always miss a lot of information. So if they can't explain to me as their broker, what do you think, and how do they explain that to their client? Okay, so that means I'm going to be standing in front of a judge, because remember, we're the broker of record. We're the one that's going to get sued. Of course, the agent's going to get sued as well. But trust me when I tell you, I don't want to be in front of the judge explaining to them, say, look, you know what, I didn't train my agent correctly, right? because they just want to get commission, they want to get their offer accepted, and they want to get paid so that way they can feed their kids and family, and they just waive contingency, and they didn't explain it correctly, and the judge is gonna throw the book at me. Okay, again, laws are written to protect consumer. Okay, just remember that. Okay, so do we have to waive all contingency to get accepted? That's the questions. No, you don't. Okay, but agent do that all the time. And the reason why, and they put fear, and I see this a lot. And till today is 3/21/2020. I mean 3/13/2021. A few agent, came to me and said, "Oh yeah, Michael, we have to do this, we have to do that." I'm like, "No, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything." Again, that's the reason why agents are held accountable, right, for everything that's happening in the real estate world today. Okay, see, agents tell each other that we need to waive contingency to get the offer accepted. Okay, the buyer doesn't have that in their mind. Okay, even as savvy as the seller or the savvy as the buyers are concerned, they don't have that in mind. Just think about this. Okay, the seller, we're all reasonable people. The seller say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I want to sell the highest, and I want a clean offer. I don't want no contingency, et cetera, right? So guess what? When they start going buy another property, do they remember what they asked for when they sell their house or when they sold their house? No. They're gonna say, oh, I want to make sure I protect myself. I want to make sure I put contingency. I make sure I inspect the house. I make sure this. I make sure that. I make sure this. I make sure that. Right. So when the tables turn, we always want to protect ourselves. So why us as selling agent or buyer's agent for that matter, why aren't we protecting our client? Okay. And I ask that question over and over. No, but if we put it there, then we're not gonna get offer accepted. Okay. So think about this. If you put an offer, and then this is where I learned. I spoke to one of my a friend of mine in Michigan on Friday, no, on Thursday. So we had a long conversation about hour and a half. We have that every couple weeks to once a month. So I spoke to him about the real estate market here and there, and I asked him about theirs. So what they did was they put a and I train all my agents to do this, to say, look, don't waive all contingency, right? So even property contingency. So let's just say right now in Northern California and Santa Clara County especially, right now you're seeing property that's going over 100 to $200,000, even more over asking. Okay, so what can you do as far as trying to protect your client and also put some, relief into the seller as well? Okay, so let's talk about appraisal contingency first. Okay, so let's just say I want to buy a property that's listed for 700,000. I offer $1 million. In my as a realtor, we know that house is not going to appraise for $1 million. Okay, we know that. We did our comps, we did everything. But because my client loved that house so much, they're willing to go up and beyond. They're asking to up to $1 million because they have future, plans for the property, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. Okay, we know for a fact that that house is not going to price. So what should we do as far as contingency is concerned? Okay, so what I do is I ask my client and say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we know for a fact this property is only, I think, is going to be appraised up to, based on the comps that we have so far, 900,000. So you're going to pay about $100,000 over. Are you okay with that? That means if you're getting a loan, you want to buy $1 million, you're going to put 20% down, right, which is 200,000. So if you're going to buy a $900,000, I mean $1 million home, but the house is only appraised for 900, the bank or the lender investor is going to lend you 20% of 900, which is, you know, so 20% of 900 will be 180 minusing 900. You're looking about $720,000. But again, you're buying at $1 million. So that means you're going to come in at additional $100,000 in cash on top and $80,000 down payment. Okay, are you okay with that? Do you have enough funds to do that? If that happens, they say, well, no. Let's say that. Okay, so what are our options? My client's willing to pay up and beyond the appraised value X amount of dollars. Okay, so that means if my client, the house is appraised at 900,000, my client is willing to pay, let's just say this, I'm going to put a contingency that we're going to buy you $1 million, offer is $1 million, if it appraised for $1 million. If the appraisal is not up to $1 million, my client are willing to come out of pocket, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 above the appraised value. So that is a contingency. Okay, but is that a contingency that bad? Not really. If the client, if the seller, remember the seller wants the most money for their property, which is true. But the bank and lender can only lend based on what the property is appraised. Okay, so it's more like, yeah, you want $1 million, but if your house is only worth 500,000, then it doesn't matter. Remember, the buyer dictates the housing price, nobody else. Okay, so I trained this a lot. So let's move on because I'm short on time. Should we waive? That is the questions. Okay, I'm gonna go see if anybody questions. Nobody asked questions. Perfect. Should we waive contingency? Yes and no. So if the seller already have reports done and you read it before you write an offer, and the report is recent, I think that you can, do that. But it all depends, okay? It all depends on the report, depending on how comfortable you are reading the report. It depends on how comfortable you are understanding the report, and also, the most important, it depends on your client, okay? So you have to go through the report with a fine-tooth comb, explain it to your client, making sure your client understand the report, so that way they can decide if they want to waive or not. Okay, did we explain the consequences? This is the one, remove contingency. We need to do this, okay? Make sure they understand that. The last, close fast, right? How fast, right? Does it matter if the seller's still in the house? So depending on how fast you want. So everybody want close fast, right? Right. The fastest one I did was 10 days. That's with the bank, okay? With the lender, with an investor. The client bought a home, borrow money. I close the loan in 10 days. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh, we close in 14 days." Well, I close in 10 days, right? One of my agent has a client. Man, she is awesome. She is super, super awesome. The client is like on top of everything. I mean, she gets her email somehow so fast. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but like every time we send her an email, like she respond right away. I'm like, man, what does she do? She just stand in front, like she sit in front of the computer all the time, or what? We don't know, but whatever it is, or does she have an alert on her phone? She is so tech savvy that every time we send an email, she responds. Every time my lender or investor send her an email, she responds. So that's how fast she is. And then not only that, man, this lady. I mean, I wish I can divert her name because again, I didn't ask her for permission yet. But this client, man, I think that she has folders like for everything. Like everything is scanned. Like even her pay stub is like saved. Like and named according to the order. Bank statement is saved. I mean, like I don't know what she does, but man, I can tell you this: she is well prepared. She is organized. She is fast, right? And I closed her deal in 10 days, and I was like, wow, right? And that's what we're trying to help our client do, right? But now let's just say if I close 10 days, what if the seller's still there? So what am I going to do? Am I going to ask my buyer to pay interest so the seller can stay there, right? So it all depends, right? You have to kind of talk to the listing agent and say, look, I can close as fast as when your seller leaves the house, right? So of course we can't, if you're going to buy if your buyer is going to use financing, of course there's Dodd-Frank where we cannot close a loan faster than 7 work days, right? Because of disclosures and everything else. So we need to have some time period to close the deal. But again, it all depends. So does it matter if the seller's still in the house? Yes and no. Depending on how you wrote the offer, depending on the negotiation that you guys have with the listing agent and the seller. Okay, remember, you're not negotiating with the listing agent, right? This is where, and I mean, a lot of agents like, oh, this guy don't know what he's talking about. Okay, listing agent are not the seller. Listing agent is representing the seller, okay? Listing agent's job is to relay messages from us to the seller so the seller can tell them exactly what they want to do. Of course, listing agent has the best interest of the sellers in mind, protect the sellers, use their experience to help them along the process, but they are not the seller. Okay, they are not the seller, so they don't make that call. Okay, 9 out of 10s they do. Okay, and seller don't even know. Okay, and that is the bad thing behind realtors. Okay, how fast is adequate? Hey, majority of the people here in North California, they close the deals 30 days or less. Okay, so it all depends on the process, but because of all the low rates and the refinance boom that's happening, appraisal is taking a little bit longer than it's supposed to. So the bottleneck here is the appraisal. Okay, the bottleneck here is the appraisal as of today, because of all the refinances and things like that. But they are changing the system to make purchases as a priority, so the appraisal is getting through the system much more quickly. Okay, recap. Pre-approved letter, pre-qualified letter, and approval letter. Which one is the best? Approval letter is number 1, pre-approved letter is number 2, and pre-qual is 3, which I don't really use. Healthy EMD. Cash is core. Of course, is better. If I buy the property all cash, then obviously is much better than financing. And what is a healthy EMD? Like I said, I try to put 1/3 of what the down payment will be as an EMD to make them feel, the listing agent, like, man, this guy is serious. My buyers are very serious about buying this property. Inspection period, shorten it, right? 17, 14, 7 or 10, 10 or 7 days. It all depends on how fast and what kind of relationship you have with the inspector, home inspector company. Normally for us, we get it within 5, 6 days, and then 7 days is adequate. I think it's good for us. And with the inspection period, not a big deal. Contingency, waive some, not all, right? Try to protect your client, making sure. Now, if you're going to waive all of them, make sure you understand and make sure your client understand what the ramifications are if they waive all contingency. Close quickly. How quickly? It all depends, right? If the seller's still in the house or not, and if how fast the negotiation between you and the listing agent, and it all depends on the negotiation at this point. Okay. Okay, let me see here. Someone texted me. Nope. Okay, that's nothing. So we have a bonus today, and I'm coming up on 45. We're about 40 minutes in the video, so I'm gonna go talk a little bit about the bonus side on this. Okay, what is considered a fixture? And a lot of people, when they buy a home or when they sell a home, they move they take stuff away with them, right? So I'm gonna give you a very quick way of pinpointing what is a fixture, what's supposed to be left behind when a seller sell the house. Okay, method. So it all depends. So I'm going to use Maria. Maria is an acronym I use so you can remember, right, which fixture belongs to the property and which the seller can bring with them. So it depends on the method that was fixated to the property. So if I put a TV bracket into the wall, and I have to use a drill or tool to do that, it's most likely a fixture. So it should stay with the property. Of course, we know that personal property. Now I'm talking about all personal property here, okay? So people, oh, the TV. Well, yeah, TV. If you put a TV into the walls, that stays. But if you put it on a bracket that's affixed to the wall, then the TV is not fixated to the wall. The bracket is, but not the TV. So that is just a thing that I want you guys to think about. So the method of putting it on the property, it all depends on if you use a tool or not. Okay. Adaptability. So basically, if the item is part of the house and removing it will damage the property, like built-in double convect oven. So as you can see, just imagine, you buying this property, you come through, you look at the double convection oven, really nice, built in the cabinets. And then the seller decided to say, I'm gonna take this with me because I'm gonna, I spent $5,000 on this and I'm gonna take it to my next property. And now all of a sudden you have a big hole, or you have to damage the cabinet to remove these double convection oven, right? So that wouldn't be nice, and you wouldn't be happy. So again, the adaptability. So if you removing that double convection oven and it's gonna damage the cabinetry, then it should stay. Okay. The relationship. When there's a dispute, most of the time the buyer wins. Okay. So in doubt, write it and be clear. Write it down and be clear. And I cannot tell you more for our relationship. So it depends on, you know, um, if you feel that you need to be clear, write it down. Put it on right. Put it in writing. So that way there's no if and or buts about it. Okay. Okay, intention. What is the purpose of making the personal property a fixture, like a built-in bookshelf or a custom closet shelving? So just imagine you go through the property and you have all these custom cabinet inside a built-in walk-in closet, right? Looks really nice. It has all the drawers, the custom hangers and everything else. And then when you buy the property, they took everything away. Remember, they built that into the property, right? They built it in, so it's custom built. Or let's say you go into a living room and they have nice custom built-in shelving for all their books and display cases or whatever it might be. It's really nice. It's built in, and then when you close escrow, it's all removed and you have these two big holes in the walls, right? So remember, uh, these are intended to be permanent. It's not to be made for removal, right? They don't, it's not like, oh, I built a custom bookshelf for this space, and then when I sell the house, I'm going to take it with me and take that custom, right, custom bookshelf that you built, the dimension, everything, and then take it to my new house. Well, of course, the new house doesn't have the dimension that's exactly like the custom. Of course, you can build a custom case around that bookcase, right, to make it custom. But again, the intention, right? Intention. Okay. So next, the last is A, agreement. To avoid confusion and disappointment, be clear, put it in writing. So as an agent, make sure when you feel that you need to be more clear, and you're afraid that, what, I don't know if I should do this or not. When you doubt yourself as an agent, always put it in writing. I don't care if it looks silly. I don't care if it looks, how do I say, um, rookie, quote unquote, rookie wise, like, it doesn't matter, right? It's better, be safe than sorry. Okay. I don't want you to put out your money, your hard earned money, to buy, something for your client where, you weren't clear, right? Put it in writing. Okay. Even people say, oh man, that, of course, that's going to be go with the property. Okay. Well, like your drapes, right? Some people say, well, I like that drape. That drape has been in my family for X amount of years, and I want to bring it because I have a lot of memories and, whatever, right? Custom drapes, things like that, right? So when you're in doubt, put in writing. Put in writing, so there's no doubt, there's no nothing. Okay. So I appreciate everybody. We're about 40, almost 45 minutes into the live session. I forgot to check. I apologize. Okay, no questions. Okay. I appreciate everybody to attend my Saturday live session at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time every single Saturday, where we try to bring you a variety, anything that's relating to real estate and mortgages. I want you guys to, if you like the program, like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tune in. And I'll be back next Saturday, where you guys will be able to give us a phone call and we can answer live on our session. So that way, all your peers can listen to the question and get the answer that we provide. Other than that, I'd like to wish everybody a safe Saturday in the weeks to come. I know that there's some news in regards to the vaccine that just came out. President Biden has made clear that he's going to try to make all adults be eligible for vaccination as of May 1st, which is very close, within about 2 months from now or so, a little bit over a month and a half, actually. So we are very, very close to normalcy. So, guys, I wish everybody much health and safety. We hope that this will be behind us, so that way I can, do live session in front of all you guys instead of going through this. But we will continue because we have people viewing this from, other states, and we want to bring awareness to all realtors and also clients in our communities. We are launching something very special in April. I'm excited about that. And there's a lot of things that's happening. I hope that you will like and subscribe to our channel. Remember to click on the bell, because that's the way you can get notification when something happens, or in our channel, so that way you have most updated information. Other than that,